Welcome back. You're still watching Business Morning right here on Channels Television. Now let's discuss the CETA amendment on sugar-sweetened beverages. Here we're looking at that amendment to the Customs and Excise Tariff Consolidated Act that targets sugar-sweetened beverages. And we have joining us for this conversation Professor Omojefe, joining us virtually from Port Harcourt in Rivers State. Professor Omojefe is the president of Chartered Institute of Financial and Investment Nigeria. Prof, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, ma'am.
All right, so please give us a little bit of background. We know there's been talks about the sugar-sweetened beverages and taxes and the law. Give us a little bit of background on this.
Well, the sugar-sweetening beverage issue has been for some time now, and there have been some form of advocacy by some groups wanting an increase from 10 naira per liter to 130 per liter. And of course, that is a huge increase, which of course will affect the manufacturers as well as consumers. So that, of course, is an excise tax which is too high for the consumers to bear. And obviously, it can have a ripple effect on the economy.
What you're asking for, Prof, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so what you're asking for now is more of a harmonized tax policy?
Yes, of course. That's exactly what we're advocating for. Of course, you know, the federal government have taken a right decision by trying to coordinate and harmonize the tax regime of the country, which have been going on, and I'm sure it's concluded, and we believe by next year it becomes effective. And so with this coordination, which have been applauded by many analysts, although of course, naturally, you'll see some who of course will advocate against such things. But we know that the new harmonized or coordinated tax is really going to go a long way to help the economy. It will help the government as well as help the taxpayers.
So what system do you think will be most favorable to the sector since there's this proposed amendment that's supposed to move it from the specific 10 naira?
Obviously, it will lead to quite a number of things. It will lead to market distortion. For example, you're going to have higher and uneven, taxes that will push the firms to be able to charge higher in some other cases. And therefore, the consequences are enormous. Since we already have a harmonized tax regime, I think we advocate that we should leave this tax regime at least to work first before we begin to think of trying to introduce these SSB tax again, which of course I suppose will have been an additional burden to people since it's an increase from the manufacturer's end. Secondly, of course, it will lead to increased costs. For instance, the manufacturers, of course, will now be buying things at a very high rate because they themselves, having been taxed, when they want to purchase, the cost, of course, will now be transmitted into that production, and which eventually will push down to the general public. And thirdly, of course, it will reduce investments Okay, so those who want to come in to invest, because of the excessive tax regime as a result of these CITE acts, will make investors, of course, to shrink back and not willing to come in to invest because the tax regime is too high. And they may look for other safe investment havens where they can, of course, go to invest. And therefore, we shouldn't discourage investors with these high taxes.
Prof, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, so but this same public seem to be at the core of it, because there's also the perspective that this is also a sort of health intervention to protect the public, against a lot of sugary consumption.
Yes, we in CFIAN are not opposed to public health. We know public health is very, very crucial and important. But if you can also look at critically by global standards, Nigerian consumption of sugar is low. It is not as high as other clients, other communities, other economies where sugar consumption is is on the increase or on the high levels. And therefore, since we are having low consumption by global standards, World Health Organization, for instance, have judged us at least to be one of the least people that are consuming sugar. So if that be the case, we don't need to at least emphasize this tax too much. So that's why I feel we should relax a little bit and allow this harmonized tax regime to take its effect before we think of how to go about this. And at the same time, even if we want to go through the SSB tax, I feel that we should also try and calibrate it gradually, and see how it works, and not just bring in that increase, because the increase, if you look at it, is over 1,000% increase from 10 naira per liter to 130 naira per liter, that they are proposing.
So are you in talks with the presidential committee? I mean, since that seems to be, the coordinator, the arm that coordinates taxes in the country now, are you in talks with the leadership of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Reforms, and perhaps they can also give a better way of handling this?
Yes, that is what we are planning to do right now, because the bill just came up, abruptly. We didn't expect that it would go through this speedily. So we do hope, at least, to dialogue with the people at the National Assembly to also give a voice, lend a voice towards this excise tax they are trying to also introduce, to tell them the implications of adding this tax when the federal government have decided to harmonize all taxes. I remember just recently in an ICANN forum, Obiakbo chapter, in ICANN Obiakbo chapter, we had a forum, and it was on this tax this harmonized tax that was debated. But at the end of it, I asked the guest speaker a question when question and answer was, and I asked that what is the place of this SSB tax with this harmonized thing? And of course, simply what he answered, he said he doesn't know what is the benefit of those who are pushing for this tax, this SSB tax, what they are trying to achieve. But nevertheless, let's watch out. But I was surprised to see that this thing has already gone even into the Senate. But we still hope that we will dialogue more with them, and at least to tell them the benefits and the disadvantages of going through this route. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Godfrey Omojefe, President, Chartered Institute of Financial and Investment Analysts, Nigeria, for your time. I will certainly wish you the best in your push, to get a more harmonized tax system for your sector.
Thank you so very much. I'm grateful. You're welcome.